walk over and I have to be
Oy
somewhere
vey.
anyway.
No. Don't walk over. It's okay.
Yeah.
Thank God for Zoom. Okay, but so without further ado, so I have the charts for you that I printed, and I wanted it to on the fridge. I wanted it to be here. Pass it down. I wanted it to be portrait. I thought I chose portrait to printed portrait, but it came out like this. But now you have room for notes. Okay.
No, I don't have my phone.
Okay. And just leave it on the table there for in case they come. Okay, so now, you at home, you can call up the chart, or I'm going to screen share it when we're going to get to it. In any case, but I want to finish what we started. Okay, what I want to do with you today is first of all finish what we began last week with the Ratzon Lekabel, like the 4 classifications of animate, plant, animal, and medaber, and show how developmentally one comes out of the other, and where it fits in with Torah and mitzvahs. But after I do that, I want to explain the chart, so you'll see how everything fits together, and maybe have you draw a different diagram underneath this to sharpen the point. So I'm going to start with the Domem Sameach HaMedaber. Last class we did Domem and Sameach, but let's review it, okay? Domem and Sameach, what I called them here on the chart is degrees of will. These are the 4 classifications. Dargot Ratzon Lekabel. This is a formulation or an explanation how Rav Ashlag Zatzal explained it. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to close this and I'll look at it. So okay, so and how it fits and why we need to know these things and why the Kabbalists are talking about them, the stuff of this world and how it relates to us. And okay, why does Kabbalah make a big deal out of it? So we spoke about the okay, now I have competing explanations going on in my head of what I should do in terms of an introduction to make the flow better. There's 4 classifications. We called them, Rav Ashla calls them, Zatzal, 4 classifications of will. Why is it will? Because essentially that's what God created. The chiddush of creation is a desire to receive. That's what he didn't have within him, that he created. He doesn't have a need to receive. What are you going to give Hashem that he doesn't have? But he had to create a vessel called will, called Ratzon, in order to be able to, for him to give us the bounty that he wants to give us. He has all this shefa of tov and good to give us. For us to appreciate it, for us to want it, we have to have a desire to receive. So the basic element of creation is the desire to receive. And everything in creation is predicated on that, sits on that. It begins with that point of a desire to receive. Okay, a desire to receive, the basic level of desire to receive is the domem, is the inanimate objects. What's its desire? What is its desire and what qualifies its fulfillment? To exist, to be what it is. A rock is a rock, no individuality. Not talking about the individual rocks, but a rock itself is a rock in a dark room, outside, in the sunshine. It doesn't change. It doesn't care what the environment is. It is the environment that it is, and it's happy to be what it is, and it has no other she'ifot. It doesn't have any other aspirations to be anything other than it is. It's a ratzon lekabel in a very minimal degree. Okay?
Is it there at all?
Of course it's there because it has atoms and it has molecules. It's alive. There is a nefesh to it.
What is it?
To receive the life force for it to be what it is. Thank you for your question.
It might not be conscious.
It's not conscious.
But it has to be receiving something in order to exist.
In order to exist, it has to be receiving something from Hashem in order to exist, and what fulfills the desire of a rock to be a rock. No, no other she'ifas, no other aspirations. So what we said about this is that this is the most minimal ratzon lekabel, most minimal desire of receiving the life force from Hashem. And it stops at, I'm a rock, I'm good. Now, there is movement in a rock. All life force, having in something a life force, means that there's movement to it. Physiologically, physically, that's the atoms that are keeping it together as a rock. There is life there, there's movement there, but it's only, it gets enough life force to maintain itself as a rock and nothing more, because it doesn't need any more for a rock to be a rock. Get what I'm saying? And that's true for all other inanimate objects. Okay. It's very important to understand this, because once we go up the channel to up the classifications into plant, we'll see that the difference between them is a greater ratzon lekabel, that they want more than just to be what they are. The flower is not happy just to be a flower. It has movement to it. And so when it lacks sun, it'll move towards the sun. It's not just happy to be, it's not enough for it. It's got more that it desires.
It's not a desire to not be a flower, it's a desire to.
It's a desire
To receive its sustenance, which is the essence of a flower, right? It
No,
wants to-
everyone,
to
all of the
exist, to grow,
classifications have a desire to receive. The question is, how much do they want to receive? Is what and what qualifies the desire to receive in each category that makes one either a domem or a tzomeach or a chai or a medaber. I don't want to have to always translate those words. So you have to learn them. Domem is inanimate. Tzomeach is plant. Chai is animal. And medaber is human. Okay? Domem, tzomeach, chai, medaber. The Kabbalists abbreviate that. They call it detzmach, but I'm not going to like throw that on you. I'm just going to, yeah. Animal, tzomeach is plant, and domem is domem. What? Inanimate. So you all have either from in the email or on WhatsApp. I shared with you the document. I'm going to share it for you, but it's good to take notes on it. Hi, Shani. Okay, so now, let's go back to the Evan. Okay. The rock doesn't have a desire from go to here to there. Wherever you put it, it's a rock, and it's happy as long as it's a rock, like I said. Okay. Now, another distinguishing factor about the domem, about the inanimate, is that it doesn't have an individual expression for itself. It doesn't have an aspiration to express itself individually as a rock. It's not even aware that there is such a thing to aspire to anything greater than, I'm good, I'm a rock.
Even though there's a ruby and a diamond and a garnet.
No, yeah.
They express themselves, but not because they have a ratzon to.
The common experience of all different gems, let's say, or all metals, or anything that is minerals, or anything that's domem, they are only aware of their desire to exist. So they don't even know that there's such a thing as, if you're a diamond, you're not aware that there's a ruby, and vice versa. They're not jealous. They don't have any desires to gender specify themselves or whatever nonsense is going on now. Like, they don't have you understand? Like, they don't get confused. They are what they are, and that's what lands in them, in the sense of fulfillment. They're good. Now we're borrowing the language of fulfillment, but that's an emotional. It's a term packed with emotion for humans. But we have no other language to express it in the terms of well, maybe we can understand it. Maybe we can understand it like this when we understand the implications of it to humans, okay? Because we are made up of all the classifications. And now this is an important point, okay? Where do we want to get to? To be a medaber, to be a human. That's the highest pinnacle. 1 second. We want to be that, and we'll see what's special about human that doesn't, that the other things don't have. Why a human is the reason for which Hashem created the world, and not just to have a nice planet with rocks and nice plants and nice assorted animals on the planet and creepy crawlies and everything like that. What fulfills Hashem's purpose for creation is man. But man cannot become man, human, because you can be a human, but you can be a chaya b'tzurat adam. You can be a Homo sapien. You can be an animal on 2 feet that looks like human, and you're technically human, but you haven't graduated to the degree of human until you've acquired the desire to be a human. With this, we're going to speak about today, B'ezrat Hashem, what it means to go up the ladder of the classifications and to keep building on ratzon to ratzon. You go from inanimate to tzomech and to chai and to finally a medaber, but you can't get to a medaber by skipping steps. I have to first experience the domem stage of my life, and then to develop from that to a tzomech stage of my life, and then to develop from that to a chai stage of life until I finally reach it. Because we're building step by step. Developmentally, it has to go through these steps. So human-wise, what does that mean? First of all, a baby is born. What is the ratzon of a baby? Feed me, change my diaper, love me, cuddle me, right? That's like a domem stage. Just let me exist. Let me have what I need to survive. Developmentally, that's where they're holding. Do they have the potential to graduate from an inanimate to Tzomeach to Chaim? Absolutely, but they're in the beginning stages. Okay, and also another application of domem in human life is that because of what we said about inanimate objects, they don't have an individual expression of anything. They just are what they are without a consciousness of really what they are. It's just, they're stuck at that stage, always, domem. So in society, you could see this amongst humans also. What is the domem in a group of people? So let's say you have an environment. Let's say you have an environment. Let's say we have an environment of a yeshiva full of students learning Torah. Everyone's doing the same thing. If you zoom out and you just view it, there's like 1,000 students in a study hall, in a base medrash. And everyone's doing the same thing. That's what's expected of a yeshiva bacher, to sit and open up the Gemara and to learn. What's the difference between one and another? Technically speaking, if you just look at them, they're all doing the same thing. When they're all doing the same thing, because that's what's expected of a yeshiva bacher or any other group of people, that's a domem. Once one of those individuals decide, you know what, it's not enough for me just to keep being a bacher, an avrech, a student. I have she'ifa. I want to grow. I want to become a Rosh Yeshiva or a Magid Shir. I want to break out from this collective designation of what a yeshiva bacher is that covers a lot of people. But once the yeshiva bacher decides, but I have more that I want to develop within me, that's already going up to the tzomeach stage. I'm getting in touch with my individuality, and I want to express my individuality. And I want to, my desire of receiving becomes more expansive than what I was when I was just a yeshiva bacher in training wheels from yeshiva ktana to yeshiva gdala to base medrash, and then like I'm just going to stay there. You follow what I'm saying? You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm just saying that there could be a high level of that inanimate state, because we're trying to get rid of our ego, which in a way, it doesn't matter, it's a different subject.
Okay,
No, but I think what I was gonna mention.
Yeah.
before, Don't we aspire on being Hasidut to be more than a medaber? There's another level of Islam. So.
we're not there yet. First, let's get to the Medaber, and then we'll get to Israel, okay? You're jumping up, you're going ahead. We need to build up from Domem to Tzomech.
But you just didn't include it.
Oh, I see.
As another.
No,
level.
it's just a highlight, it's
But
a,
there is a minor.
we'll speak about that when we get to it.
That we are supposed to learn, like it could be a hard level, just to.
okay,
That's self-acceptance. He gave
It
me my
starts-
genetics, he gave me my-
okay.
this is
The
my-
Domem
this is
stage,
diamond.
the Domem stage, developmentally in a human, because we all have to go through the Domem stage before we get to understanding that there is such a thing as a Tzomech stage, that there is such a thing that I can be more than just a body that needs comfort and food, and to go to the bathroom every so, excuse me, but whatever humans do, to survive as humans. But we have to go through that stage in order to then say, but this is not enough for me. I need to go more. I can't stay on an animal state. On the level of Domem, in terms of Torah and mitzvahs, this is a stage of chinuch, of educating yourself in Torah and mitzvahs, or the parents are educating, or the teachers are educating, taking this raw material called little human, that's so full of ego, and just the ratzon lekabel, the desire to receive, is only centered around themselves to survive. Humans start off as being the centers of their own universe, and everything has to serve them because I need to survive. And what I need to survive is food and drink and cuddling and attention, and at a certain point, toys, and it's my toys, and don't touch my toys, and I don't share my toys. It's me, me, me. This is the Domem stage, okay? And at that stage, in terms of, but we have to perfect every stage. So we have to, before we go to the Tzomech stage, we have to perfect the Domem stage. We have to understand that we are beginning as receptors to receive something. So raising kids with a healthy ego is helping them understand who they are and what that they have needs, and they need to express them. So parents take children to all kinds of activities. What activities do you like? What fits your personality? But it's just being molded. It's not like they're expressing any individuality, really. It's just they're getting to know what they like and what they don't like.
Is that true?
Yeah.
What's your question?
People,
I'm struggling, but I don't want to
okay, ask your question, then I think we know where you're going. I have a good answer for you.
I'm sure.
Maybe I'll just say what I'm going to say, and then tell me if that's the question. Okay, you see people born with different levels of capacity to give. Some children are more selfish than others. Some are naturally more giving than others. But that's what that's the raw material that they're given at birth. It's not something that they worked at. It's not something that they're conscious of. It's just a teva. So you can see children that are very into sharing. It's very easy for them to share. But that's just their starting point. And from that, they have to understand to also develop from that. Did that kind of get close to what you were going to say, or now ask your question?
Yeah, sort of. I think that just in our very nature, a human is so, like a domem, to me, it's like there is no ratzon. Like it's the ratzon kilo, the
Okay.
will, right? Like you're saying, is just existence. But already as a human,
Yeah.
we are born and built and created
Yeah.
in very specific ways. Like even like it really is mamash a world. Now, as they're given various ways, right, of
Expressing themselves.
right, to express it, but there is a lot of it. I think there's
Okay.
actually a profound
In
amount of
humans,
individuality.
unlike a rock, is potential. And that's what you're hitting upon. Humans have a potential not to just stay a rock. but we start off with needing to perfect, to bring into Kedusha that aspect of ourselves of knowing where is my Ratzon Lekabel taking me to.
But it's a potential, but it's also will. Like I feel like
No,
every
but the
human
potential-
being, regardless, they
the
have a will to
potential-
do more.
but that developmentally comes as you grow.
That's it though. Like, why does a baby decide like I want to crawl? Because they have a desire to move.
Because they have the
want
ability,
to go
because
into the other
the
room.
babies have a desire to crawl because they're physiologically they're built to walk, and that's the first stage of walking is crawling. It's actualizing the potential that they have with them to use their body in a certain. It's physiological, yeah. But because a human is human, we have the potential of all the levels of neshama. Then, Bezrat Hashem, we're going to keep going up the ladder until we get.
Latent, you would say that the domain it's just
Being a human,
latent potential that just sits without any consciousness of it. It is.
yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
I think you guys are all getting lost in detail as opposed to concept. I mean, what Yael is.
Yeah, I'm not calling
understand
ourselves a
you-
rock. We're not
Yeah,
calling. We're not.
I think what she's trying to say is, whereas a rock comes into the world as an inanimate object, and therefore it's domem. When a human being comes into the world, it's not an inanimate object, but because it is incapable of taking care of itself and doing anything, it's likened
Okay.
to the rock. But
Okay.
it isn't the rock.
Right.
It
So
has potential, whereas a rock does not.
what Edie said is that rock is a rock, and humans are not rocks, even though we have a domem state to us, but we have a potential to. We go through conceptually a phase of life that's like a domem. So let's say in society, amongst people that are just happy to wake up in the morning, go to work, get their paycheck, do whatever they do with their money, and then go to sleep, and then do it over and over again without any other aspiration. This is effectively a domem stage of living. And it's a waste of life, because that's not why Hashem created you, just for this. Rav Ashlag explained this is likened to somebody, to an insect. Remember this? To an insect who was born in a radish, inside a radish, and all he knows is the radish, and he thinks that's all there is. He's either happy to be with that existence because his mind doesn't take him anywhere else, or if he has a mind to think anything, he says, well, this is a waste of exercise. What's the point? Until he breaks through the klipa of the tznon, of the radish, and sees, oh, there's another world. There's a whole other world beyond the tznon, beyond the radish. And so for a human to stay on the level of the domem is like staying within a klipa. Is the klipa necessary to begin with? Absolutely. Klipa means it's a husk, it's a shell, but what's a klipa? It's like the peel of the fruit that protects the fruit within it to be able to grow. So we need to go through this stage. Okay? And
say that self-acceptance could be like a higher level of.
I'm not talking, no, that you're
No,
taking
that to be a domain we're trying to. get to
self-accept.
Okay,
so at the end. Okay, at the
except for genetics, except for bodies, except
Okay.
for stage set, except for.
At the end of last class, there was a question. I don't know if it made it to the recording or not. But anyway, people showed up to the class don't really listen to the recording. So the question is like this. We spoke about the domem level of Torah and mitzvahs. It's just to do the mitzvah without kavanah. But I also said, but you have to know that you're doing it because Hashem wanted you. So isn't that a kavanah? We thought, and I mentioned that on the Tzomeach stage, that's where kavanah comes in, but not deep kavanah of individual mitzvot. It's just a general desire to do Hashem's will with regesh, with ahava, with yira. But there's no appreciable difference between one mitzvah and another. So I light Shabbos candles, or I do chesed. It's like I'm happy to do the will of Hashem, and I'm feeling warm with it. But I don't have an appreciation of the difference between one mitzvah and another. That's on a higher level.
Like a 2-year-old who like brings this to mommy and that to mommy, and both times mommy's like, "Good job." You're happy that you're able to bring
Exactly.
something to mommy. But
So
you don't know.
So sometimes, because we have domem in us, because we have a domem, because all of the whole universe, all of creation is within us. Kol Adam Olam Katan. Every human is a small world. So, and that's what Hasidus teaches. This is basic Hasidus, that we elevate the world, the whole world. When we eat, we elevate the minerals that we eat, the salt and the plants and the animals, and we bring it up to a service of Hashem. The whole, everything that's in creation is lifted up because it becomes part of it. Whatever we eat becomes part of us. It becomes part of us. It becomes part of our energy that we use to avodas Hashem. So we elevate the whole. We fulfill the purpose for all of creation when we do that. But the domem stage is like sometimes we'll find ourselves. I don't understand why the mitzvahs don't have a taste for me now. Like I'm just by rote. What happened to my feeling? What happened to my ratzon of connecting to Hashem? It's like I have no taste. I have no tam to the mitzvahs. I have no flavor to the mitzvahs. And in that stage, you can elevate the domem in you to kedusha by saying, I'm going to do without the tam. I'm doing it because Hashem said to. I don't know why. I'm not particularly connecting to it. My heart is not feeling alive with it, but I know that this is what Hashem wants. I'm going to do it even without feeling. And chas v'shalom, we should wait for feeling to come before we do the Torah and mitzvahs. Even when our heart is warmed up to it, we still have to do the Torah and mitzvahs by rote. That's Nishma like a rock. I don't know why I'm doing this. Right now, I'm not holding by any other level more than a domem. I just know what my orders are. I need to do this. Yalla.
It's like who chose stones to engrave these things on.
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good. Right. Okay, good. So that's the domem stage. But as humans, we have the potential not just to be a domem. Chas v'shalom, we should stay on the domem stage. Okay. Now, how sad is it when we meet people that have no ratzon other than leave me alone, I just want to be. That's a depressed state. That when a person is depressed, they have no energy to do other than shallow breaths. Leave me alone. I can't talk. Now we're in Mishinechnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha. We're supposed to smile. Smile takes energy. How do we know? Because a sick person, a depressed person, it takes so much koach to work these muscles that bring up a smile. It's energy. It's life. And the domem doesn't have that. A depressed person, chas v'shalom, or people that are just like happy to be that bug in a radish and like, I'm good with this. Okay, you're not fulfilling your potential of everything else you can become, but they have it within them to be that because we have that stage in us, but we have to grow out of it. Okay, the next stage. Now, I don't know how much to give you now. Let me go through all the classifications and then we'll go to the chart. Okay, B'ezrat Hashem, and we'll see how it relates to the different levels of neshama, the nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida. Okay, I'll do it that way. The next stage is the tzomer. This is the plant kingdom. This is the more developed ratzon lekabel, desire to be. It's not enough for me just to be an inanimate. I have more individual movement. So you might have a batch of sunflowers. No, I don't know, roses, tulips. I don't know, a category of species of flowers, okay? If you look at the inanimates, a rock is a rock is a rock, no matter where you find it in the world, in whatever environment, a rock is a rock is a rock. The movement is minimal. You don't even see it. There's such a little ratzon lekabel that you don't even see the movement that it's there. It doesn't move. But in the plant kingdom, even though you have a whole species of tulips that fit the category of what's a tulip, but in each individual flower can express itself individually if it's in the light or not in the light. So if I'm an individual tulip and I'm missing light, me, individual tulip, I will move towards the light. that won't necessarily affect any other flower. It's not going to affect any other flower. No other plant will be affected by my personal movement. And I'm not aware of any other tulips around. I just know that I am a tulip and I have to move towards the light because my desire to receive is so much more than just to be a tulip. I need to be a tulip that's alive. And what's going to give me life is water, so my roots are going to go down and seek where the water is underground. And my petals are going to extend themselves and to where the sun is. That's an individual awareness already, okay? The plants start off as a seed, grow stems, leaves, petals, and each part is essential for the makeup of it. And so it has more depth, more individual depth than the inanimate. Okay. And yet the desire to live that's greater in a plant, that's greater than a domem, they have an individual life force, each one on its own to live. They have a desire. I need to survive. Where's my sun? Where's my water? But it's not individualistic. It stays on whatever species of plant that they are. They're limited by the confines of the, no, help me, above physical needs of what each, you look up Wikipedia, used to be Encyclopedia World, the book Encyclopedia, and now it's Wikipedia. You look up what defines the right environment for a tulip, what is the makeup, what is its, how it pollinates, what is its measure of this and that, and the other thing that they need for their photosynthesis to be a healthy plant. Beyond that, there's no other she'ifa. There's no other aspiration. They do have an individual sense of themselves. Again, it's borrowed from human terms, but we see that in terms of them going towards the light and thirsting for water and trying to seek it within the roots. On the human level, that's like the yeshiva bach that says, I need more than this. Okay, I want to be a Magid Shir. I want to be a Rosh Yeshiva, or I want to be the mayor of the town, or I want to be whatever it is.
Go to the tish down the street to get some inspiration from the Rebbe, because he's going to like that. He wants to feel more. You know, he might be gravitating more.
Yeah, but that could be just to maintain themselves as a tzemach. As it's individuality means my desire to receive is a lot more than just maintaining where I'm holding. So I'm depressed of being where I'm holding, so let me go to a Rebbe's tish for inspiration, but that's just only to maintain my previous state that I'm kind of got lost in touch with. Here I'm talking about, I need to up my individual expression, but what makes me unique. I'm more aware that I have something within me that can be expressed individualistically, that's different from all others.
So like in the previous marshal you gave is the builder, the person who wakes up and they go to that job and they whatever. This is the person who's waking up, they're going to their job, but they're feeling there's something more.
There's more to
beyond
life than this.
This 9 to 5.
Except
Maybe
that
it's a 9 to 5, but
right,
I
but
don't want to do
except
this.
it's still a tzemach, it's still a plant. So there's more to than a 9 to 5 job, and I'm good with that. And a few entertainments thrown in between. But so now I'm the plant, but I'm still focused on myself. I'm still focused. The tzemach understands itself. Developmentally, I'm still in my ego, and it's still my ego that wants to express himself. It's still from a lo lishma place. Lishma always, for the sake of Him, means I'm doing this for Hashem. I'm getting beyond my ego. Here we're still within ego, but I just need to expand the confines of what constricts me just to be like everybody else. Like, hold on, like everybody else, which is like the domem, like everybody else, no individual expression of anything. But now I want to express, I want to stand out a little bit more. And I have an aspiration to get that. Now, when does a domem graduate to a tzemach? when it fills, when it understands my egotistical needs as a domem to survive, when I've completed that stage of chinuch, of educating myself with Torah and mitzvahs as a domem, and I'm living on that category, I've perfected it with kedusha as a domem, whatever is expected of a domem, not much, but it's still a state that we have to go through. I'm doing the mitzvahs because Hashem told me to. Once I fulfilled that, once I've come in touch with what are the individual needs, my ratzon lekabel etzmi, that keeps me surviving in this world, once I'm in touch with my ego and I understand my ego, and I nonetheless do it al pi Torah and mitzvahs, then the development will be, now that I got the nefesh stage of my neshama, the lowest level of the soul, because when we do the domem, when we go to the chart, it'll become clear to you. Once I've mastered the domem in me, no matter what, I'm going to do the will of Hashem, feeling, no feeling, whatever. I'm just here as a soldier following Hashem's orders. Then that's going to open up within me the next stage of my potential is going to be awakened in me. And the next stage is what? On the level of soul, it's ruach. On the level of classifications, it's like the tzomeach. It's not enough for me to be a domem. Where does that "it's not enough for me" comes from? Where does that feeling come from, that it's not enough for me to be this? Because I have a potential within me that's now being awakened, because now that I understand what I am, and I've tried this thing and that thing and this activity and that activity and this, and I've then I understand, I understand who I am, I understand my desires, I understand my will to receive, but now it's not enough. I want to express myself individually. That's moving into the tzomeach stage. Then the light of the level of neshama called ruach is your arena of work, of acquiring the next level of neshama.
There's some movement happening.
There's movement happening, developmentally, spiritually. Yeah, Sarah.
I was just, I'm just,
Trying to see where it
listening to
fits.
No, I know where you're going, but that our desire from, like you're saying, a 2-year-old who's just bring it and they understand the command, now has that greater desire at 4 or 5 to then give on their own.
No, that happens at bar and bar mitzvah. The giving at a 4-year-old is
But
still
the pleasure that the receiving is
pleasure is always
greater.
there. The pleasure is always there. We are built on pleasure. Pleasure is what brings me to happiness, and what I need to distance myself from pain. Is
fulfillment.
It's
Perhaps the word
fulfillment.
pleasure, but the fulfillment.
Fulfillment.
For the child, it's
But
great
at-
because
but at-
they can initiate and give something.
At 5, it's still chinuch. I'm sorry to argue with you, but I'll- no, but it's usually because of messages that they get. It's good to share, not because inherently they feel the desire. Although some people, some people are born with the capacity to give different measures. We all come into this world at different levels of stages of our development of our neshama, and we're born with aspects of our neshama that some are already perfected their nefesh, now they're into the ruach. Some people, big neshamas, they come into this world with the neshama to perfect. So they're naturally going to be givers more than others who haven't perfected that stage. But it's still the initial ground that they're working with, that they were given, and not because they have an understanding of it, because it's their teva. And from chinuch, it's like what we see with children. You can argue with me. It's okay. I welcome it. You have experience with children, but it's like most children who perfect the art of sharing is because either they discovered the displeasure of the adults in their life when they don't share and they want to, or they become all kinds of ways.
Birth order too. It's like
Or
my middle
whatever
child,
it
for
is.
example, is very mavatir. That's why because she learned at a very young age. If I'm
I'm going to get the,
we asked to my older sibling, we had fun together, my older siblings. had fun. We
exactly,
did-
it's all
she's
kinds
a
of
very giving
calculations.
girl.
Sarah, I'm gonna,
I'm still
Kids are
feeling like
born
that
with it.
5-year-old as opposed to the 3s, which is the interest I've always.
oh, so
wanted.
we're developing, they have an understanding,
Created something and give it to somebody else, that fulfillment and that.
but they're
and that-
motivated, they're
I feel like
motivated.
these flowers, as opposed to the rock is also crying out like to give pleasure, in a higher level.
But
than
it's still
rock.
from a
Not
place of,
emotionally,
it's still from a
and
place
that's
of
so lovely.
ego,
Kids
because
are
I understand that when I cause this child to smile when I share their toy with them, makes me feel good about myself, and myself is everything that I care about. And if it wouldn't make me feel good about myself, then it would be harder to give to the other child if I wouldn't get that smile.
I think you guys are confusing nature versus
And-
nurture. There's a very big difference in
Okay.
children. You know, children are born with an innate
Okay.
nature. We can nurture them, but they are born with an innate nature.
Okay, so Edie
We
said,
guide them.
so Edie said that this whole discussion is confusing nature with nurture, and I really don't want to go there
Right.
anymore. Let's just stick to
Continue.
the concepts. If you have a question on the concept, like let's okay. So now, so in the Tsamel stage, there's no like there's in Hebrew it's called yesh tnua pratit. There's individual movement. I want to be more.
Motivation.
But there's no bidul yichudi. There's no differentiation of my. There's no bidul yichudi and bidul yichudi. There's no unique. It's still like I'm still functioning my ratzon to be my individual. Like let's say like I want to express like I want to be the city mayor. I want to be the Rosh Yeshiva. It's like it's still from a place of ego, of what that I want to break out of what everyone else is just doing. It's not enough just to be like everybody else, but it's still limited. It's a great thing to want to do that, but we'll see the development. The next stage, once I've perfected my tzemach stage, on the level of Torah and mitzvahs, the tzemach stage is kavana, like I said, with ahava and yira. It's just like I'm doing. In the inanimate level of doing Torah and mitzvahs, it's just I'm doing the mitzvah because Hashem told me. I don't understand anything, but I'm just doing it. In the tzemach stage, I have more feeling, more warmkeit in my heart. My heart is being moved, but I don't have an appreciation from the difference between one mitzvah and another. I'm just excited to do mitzvahs. You give me this mitzvah to do, I'll do it. Oh, but there's no individual taste from mitzvah to mitzvah. I'm just like to do mitzvahs. Okay, that's the tzemach stage. The chai stage is like everyone. What's the difference between a tzemach and an animal? An important concept to remember is that every time you go up the stages, the upper stage always necessarily incorporates within it that which comes beneath it. Okay, so the domem is just domem. It's not aware of a tzemach. It's not aware of a chai. The tzemach is very aware of the domem. It needs the minerals in the earth. It needs the sun. It needs the oxygen in the air. There's a relationship there. It needs it. Has a desire for it. It's the ground from which it grows from, so it's necessary. The chai also has within it domem and also tzemach because they eat the plants and they're relying on it. They are relying on the earth that they walk on, and everything like that, and the tzemach. But what defines chai above the tzemach is that each animal has a life unto itself that's very individualistic. It's not like every tulip is a tulip is a tulip. Every dog or every cat or everything has a will to move wherever it wants to go individually. And one dog can, let's say, let's say there's a scary sound. I don't know. One dog will run in this direction, another dog will run in that direction. There's no defined one way of reaction. There's a self-protection to it. There's a fear to it. There's a going towards light and what will bring them to pleasure and stay away from pain. Also, they have all of that, but it's more individualistic.
Is it also a desire to serve the master? Just as we're thinking, no?
I don't want to go there yet. Just wait with your questions, okay? I didn't
Because
finish.
The plant is stuck still
It's
within
stuck.
the ground.
There's
The
no-
animal can
Exactly.
move,
Exactly.
really move, not just go to the left.
Exactly. So animals
like
have
stuff.
legs, so the movement is greater movement because they can walk. Plant can't, it can only move planted in the ground to limit it to that movement. But an animal can freely roam.
It's already a little more independent.
It's exactly Ratzon Chofshi. It's got an independent desire to it. It has also an independent feeling. Each animal on its own. There's a personality there.
Mhm.
Okay. That each one is its own individual life with a different life story to it. Okay. What's the difference between a chai and a medaber? The medaber isn't only aware of its self and has self-expression and has a desire to move individually and feelings. It can go beyond itself to actually think of others as well. Whereas an animal is still stuck in the ego, ratzon lekabel ego, it's where I want to do what's going to bring me to whatever it is that I want and what I feel. But in the animal kingdom, you see how what looks to human eyes as compassion from one animal to another. They bury each other. They take care of it. If there's a wounded animal, they'll lick its wounds, or I don't know what. They'll try something. Or let's say dog owners, a dog can develop a feeling for its master and be very in tune to its feelings master. But it won't be but that's because the master's feeding it and there's a relationship there. But that won't be translated to the next door neighbor being sick and needing. They're not aware of that. They're still in their own world. It's instinct. It's still what God planted within them. It's instinct. It's no bechira, and it's not really understanding another. They can't get beyond. So the high stage is somebody who's achieving a lot in life. But what's missing from them is the chashivut hazulat, to be able to think of another, to get beyond the ego and to really be altruistic. That's specific to human. So if like the domem is like the general public, because everyone's doing the same thing, and then there's individuals from amongst the masses that has a greater aspiration to be more than just what everybody else is doing, and I want to be something else. I want to be the mayor of town, Rosh Yeshiva, a Talmid Chacham. So there's growth potential. There's tzmicha in that individual from the level of domem. There's an individual feeling, and when the person fulfills that potential that woke up within them to be somebody, what's awakened within them is their pnimius. Where's it coming from? This greater ratzon to be more, to accomplish more, to roam around more, to conquer more. Where does this ratzon lekabel come from? The greater measure of ratzon lekabel, desire to receive more, to take more out of the world. I just want to take it all in.
The neshama?
It's the pintaliyid, it's the neshama. Because we have within us to fulfill that, to get to that pnimius point, to get to all the levels, to give all of the levels of expression, but we can't go to the pnimius most expression of the neshama without first going through the stages developmentally, growing from one ratzon to another. And it's very beautiful to see that in children. It's a very good example. It's a living example that a baby is born with a nefesh, a nekudah shebalev, like we spoke last week, a nekudah shebalev, a point in the heart of a nefesh. And the baby has to grow to learn what his nefesh is. What are my soul's desires on the level of nefesh? This is the ego building. And within that ego building is also the tzemach stage. But I want to individually express myself. I'm bored with what everybody else is doing. I need to do something unique. And then I can't just stay in my own town. I got to see the world. I got to travel, and there's greater like aspirations and and desires of Ratzon. It's not enough just to be stuck in the same old town my whole entire life. I just want to go more. So that's like the Chai, and I'm accomplishing things, and I'm writing books, and I'm building bridges, and I'm writing Sfarim. But as long as I'm doing it just to fulfill myself, that's still on the level of ego, and it's still within the realm of klipa. Even if you're doing holy things, you're still in a lo lishma place of doing things. Lo lishma, I'm doing it for my sake, self-serving, and not really to be fulfilling Hashem's desire. When do we get to the stage of finally getting to the point of being able to graduate to what a human's potential is? That's when we get to a medaber. On the level of soul for the Chai, this is the neshama part. 5 minutes to go. Oy vey, I didn't even do this. I have a bus to catch at 11. That's why no, at 11:07. So, and the bus is here. I can go to 11:04. Okay, so on the level of Chai, is like I'm really individuating myself. I'm really standing out. I've accomplished the goals for myself that broke barriers of domem and somech, and I am a Chai, and I'm an accomplished person. But again, it's like now. The highest level of Ratzon L'Kabel is the Medaber. It's the Ratzon L'Kabel of like that is almost infinite. How much desire do I have? It's not enough. This world is not enough. I got to break through the stratospheres of this world. I got to get to Ein Sof. That's on the level of Chaya, of the Medaber, of the level of soul. This is the highest. This is and this means what that means when a person gets to that level of aspiration of she'ifa, it means I've developed my domem, my tzomeach, my chai, my nefesh, my ruach, my nefesh, my ruach, and my neshama. And now my ratzon l'kabel is not defined by those three categories. I'm human, and if I'm human, I'm tzelem Elokim. I have Elokim within me. I'm in touch with Him. Once I've developed my neshama on the level of chai, of animal, then the greater potential, this is not this, but there's so much more than just this world and what I can get from it. So much more than what my eyes can see. So much more than there's concepts that I can think of that are defined by the physical space that I'm living in. I can break through barriers of time and space in my concepts and my feelings and my compassion that I have for others. And it translates as moving out of just self-care to caring about other people outside in the world. So I can be sitting here and hear of a catastrophe in China and feel so moved by compassion and moved to do something from them. I don't know them, but I hear of a world-class tsunami something, and it's like my heart is breaking for them with compassion, and I'm motivated to do something. What shaykhs of that person in that end of the globe to me here? An animal can't do that. They don't care about that. It's just what affects them. But a human has the capacity to think beyond themselves, and that's the highest ratzon on the level of chaya in terms of the neshama. And that's when we start fulfilling the potential of really being godly. When we get to the level of neshama that's touching upon the chelek eloka mimal within me that wants expression as to be a mashpia finally. To get out of the ratzon, the kabel of desiring just for myself and being a mashpia like Hashem is a mashpia. Mashpia means a benefactor, of doing good, benevolent. Irregardless of if it's good for me or not good for me, or if I'm going to be, how much money I'm still going to have in the bank after I do this good deed or not. I'm thinking about the other. That's what's most important to me. From a true place, from an altruistic place, because that's the correct thing to do. That's what Hashem desires for me to do. And at this point, I've broken through the klipa of nefesh. I broke through the klipa of nefesh and made my way to the ruach. I've broken through the klipa, then what's ruach into the neshama. I'm calling them klipot, even though they're beautiful lights and aspects of our soul. Because if you only stay on those levels of soul, it's klippa, because you're still functioning from a place of ego, of self-servingness, of only wanting to fulfill yourself. But once you break through the klippa of that, then you're already into the whole world. Ein Sof. I have Ein Sof now. I've widened my viewing range to so much greater. I can see other people. I'm aware of them. I can also, on this level of stage, because there's Tuma and Tahara and Kedusha to all the stages. There's Kedusha and Klipa in all stages of expressing this. So on the level of Ratzon, Lekabel, on the level of Medaber, I can become so aware that this whole world, I just want to eat up the whole world, that I can also do it on the level of no good. I'm expressing it for my desire of world domination and ultimate control. And it's on this level of stage that I can develop jealousy. I can develop the need for honor, the need for control. What happened here? What happened to my screen? Okay, do you guys see funny on home? It's like purple and...
Yeah. There you
Yes,
go.
yeah.
Okay, good. It's because, why does that happen? Because once I get to that stage, for me, before I go to a stage of Kedusha, I always necessarily have to understand what the klippa of that is. If I already am awakened up with jealousy for other people, what other people have from this place of Ratzon Lekabel, and my need for control, I have to be in touch with the potential of that on the negative side before I flip it and mitaher it and clean it up and bring it to the side of Kedusha. Every stage of development, we always go from choshech to or. We're always going from klipa to the fruit, to beyond the klipa, to breaking through the klipa, to see the light, all the time. We can't just cruise into the kedusha without first understanding what the klipa of that level is. Doesn't work. Okay, the klippa always precedes the fruit. So my desire for this, eating up the whole world and beyond, I'm going to come and touch. So tzaddikim who develop themselves and get to the next stage of development, the first thing that they come across is, you know what? I'm the worst person in the world. Because all of a sudden, all of these, I'm jealous. I have these feelings in me. And they weren't in touch with it until they got to that stage of development. So a tzaddik always necessarily starts off in the red, in a place of Aini. And then from there, you have to work with Torah and mitzvahs and Mesiras Nefesh to perfect that stage, to bring it all into the level of Kedusha. There's a lot more to say, but I gotta go. I'm so sorry. I thought I was going to accomplish so much more today, but I went slow and I spoke slow because I really wanted for it to be integrated. Are you okay with this?
Yeah, we need it.
I need it. Yeah.
So the pace is okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Anyone has a final question at home?
No, it was a great class. Thank you.
Okay, so either if you don't have WhatsApp, email me questions. If you're on the WhatsApp chat, just put it on the chat. Thank you so much and see you next time.
Thank you so
Next
much.
time we'll finish this medaber and then we're really going to do the chart. Next Thursday is Tanya Sester. What are we doing about next Thursday? Do we move it to a different day of the week next week, or we skip next week? I can do it Sunday. I'll put it on the chat and I'll email people who don't have.
Is there, I'm just asking.